Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can use Odysseus Deep Research properly. I see it all the time. Most people use Deep Research like a lazy Google search. They type one vague question, wait for magic, and then get a mediocre answer. That's not what this thing is built for. Deep Research is not the chat tab with extra steps, it is the research layer of Odysseus. And while you can switch to the agent and run a deep research step, the tab itself is where you actually investigate a topic. You gather sources, compare information, and turn it into something that you can use. A visual report, a script outline, a buying decision, or a setup plan. So in this video, I'll show you exactly how it really works, why it has its own tab, the exact prompt formula that gets you good results every single time, and the mistakes that might ruin it. And near the end, I'll be showing you some tips on how you can use it within your workspace effectively. If you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you keep up with follow-up tutorials, AI news, or comparisons similar to this one. Now let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so the deep research is what you reach for when you actually need sources, structure, comparison, synthesis, a real report that you can build something from. Instead of pulling one answer from memory, it goes out, runs multiple rounds of searching, reads across a stack of sources, and assembles a structured, cited report that you can view visually. So let me go ahead and run a real demo researching a YouTube topic. Let's say I'm researching a video on the best open source AI agents in 2026. This is exactly the kind of prompt I would actually paste in. Now feel free to watch what I include because this is the difference between a useful prompt and a useless one. Now onto the Deep Research tab, you can also choose which kind of research you want to run. Whether you are looking to choose between products, a comparison kind of report, how-to, or a fact check. You can leave it at auto if you would like to, but if you have something very specific in mind, then this will help. After that, you can choose the amount of rounds that you want for the research. The more rounds you add, the longer the deep research will take, but the better results you should get. I recommend testing different kinds of rounds for the deep research. If it's something not too complex, then maybe you want to run 5 to 10 rounds. But if it is a complex topic, then running more rounds should help. Play around with it, test many different rounds, and see which number is the sweet spot for you. Now you can also choose which search engine you want it to pull results from, whether it's Google, Brave, Serpa, etc. The endpoint will be the local models you'll be using for this, whether it's a cloud model or a local one. Once again, if you want the absolute highest quality result possible, a cloud model will outperform a weaker local one. So for example, I could have OpenRouter and then connect a Cloud Anthropics model. I can choose the specific one to do the research with. Or if I want a decent result, then I would connect one of my local models and do the research with it. The results might be a little bit worse, but at the same time, I would save myself the request cost. So choose accordingly, select the settings that you want, and then click Start. So as you can see, it runs, searches, pulls sources, and builds the report. Your prompt and your model should do the heavy lifting. Now, as you can see, the report itself is pretty solid. It took about 300 seconds or about 5 minutes to complete. 8 rounds, analyzed over 40 URLs, and came back with this visual report. Now, from the AI agents research that I ran, you would expect to see Hermes, OpenClaw, and the popular ones. And of course, the first one listed is Hermes agent, as you can see. After that, we've got OpenClaw, followed by Karoo AI and AutoGPT and more. So this is a pretty legit research that I would actually use in future content or for my own knowledge. So regardless of the topic that you want to research, there is a pretty good prompt formula that makes the research legit. Every strong deep research prompt has a few pieces. We've got the topic, the audience or use case, the scope, source priority, the output format, your decision criteria, and an uncertainty instruction. You don't have to be rigid about it, but the more of those that you include, the sharper the output. Vague prompt in, vague slop out. Give it a job, a scope, and a format, and it will deliver. So taking that into account, let me go ahead and do a second demo, which is the software comparison research. Now this can get valuable if you make review or roundup content. This is the exact prompt I'll be using, and I will also switch to the compare mode instead of leaving it on auto. Now you just let it run until it finishes to view the visual report afterwards. Now the second natural step of using Odysseus Deep Research is turning a report into actual work. You don't want to run the research, read the report, nod, and close it. The report is not the finish line. This should be the raw material that you take into a separate session. So clicking the discuss button, you will feed it forward into the rest of your workspace. You pull the key findings into a document in the library and shape them into an outline. Drop the important facts into notes and anything the report flagged as needing verification. You turn that straight into a task. So when the report says pricing claims need checking, that becomes a task. You verify the pricings before you start recording the script. And then when it hands you title angles, those will become notes. When it gives you a comparison table, that can become a script section or an on-screen graphic. The win was never that deep research gives you a pretty report. The win is that the report becomes a script, a task list, a document, or a decision that you make. It's pretty much the difference between a workspace and a search box. So where does this earn its keep? A few that fit most people watching YouTube research: angles, titles, thumbnail ideas, outlines, and the pain points that your viewers care about. You can also use it for software buying decisions, as you can get the pricing, features, pros and cons, best pick by use case, whether you're choosing a VPS or an API provider or anything else. We also have technical troubleshooting, a daily AI news briefing, and more. Now, to be completely honest, I'm not going to oversell this because that's not how I do these. Deep research has some real weak spots, and knowing them keeps you from getting burned. First of all, it's really bad with vague questions. It's overkill for simple stuff that you should just ask in chat, and it can struggle with facts that change constantly. Like if you're researching exact pricing, current plans, and feature availability, so you want to always double check those at least at the start. It's only as good as the model that you are using and the sources available on a topic. So you still verify anything that matters before it goes into a video or an article that you're writing, or maybe some work that you need to submit. So deep research gives you a research draft, not divine revelation. You would get insane value out of it if you treat it like a sharp research assistant that you still fact check, and it is incredibly useful. Alright, so in conclusion, here is the whole workflow in one clean loop. You want to ask a focused research question, defining the audience and the exact use cases. You tell it which sources to prioritize, pick the right model for how much the output matters to you, run it, review the report, verify the important claims yourself, and then turn the findings into a document, notes, tasks, or a script. Of course, you can use the chat and the agent for the follow-up and polish. Now, one thing I keep noticing is that a lot of people see deep research living in its own tab instead of inside chat and assume that's clunky, when in reality, it's actually the whole point. Research is not conversation. A research run is longer, more structured, source-heavy, and it's something that you will want to come back to later. If all of that lived buried inside your chat history, squeezed between random questions, model tasks, every research project would get lost in the noise. But giving it its own space keeps your research clean, findable, and easy to turn into a document or a task later. Alright, so that will be all on today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video to be helpful or informative to watch, let me know by giving it a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss on any follow-up tutorials that we'll be making on Odysseus or other AI tools similar to this one.